Hello, kings, queens, and monarchs of every element. I am the one, the only, the RJB0, and this last week was the January 2022 Time Wizards of Tomorrow tournament, a tournament that culminates a whole month of playing around a particular hidden gem of past Yu-Gi-Oh! Historical formats. And this month was Abyss Rising format, one of my favorites, and this tournament was so much fun. For those of you who do not know, the prize that folks are competing for is a unique, one-of-a-kind piece of art that I make for the victor, featuring their ace monster and some time wizard magic. And folks really played their hearts out for this one. They found some really cool lists, and I got the pleasure of commentating it this last Saturday. So without further ado, here are the top 16 matches from this week's stream. All right, here we are. Top 16, bracket 1, Kalti versus Elegante. Let's get this going. Elegante opening very strongly, and Kalti opening with the Garnet with the Watt-Tail Dragon in hand. Maxi is not that good against Machina Geargia, MSTing their own bottomless to respond to the Heavy Storm, which is really punishing. Elegante did not play around the Heavy Storm, and Kalti top decks another Hieratic, getting him basically the full combo, going into double Tomb, into Red Med. Red Med is going to bring us back a Tefnuit, and Birdman is going to bounce back the Red Med, which is going to banish Tefnuit to get its full attack and effect. We're going to bring back a Nebthet, which can synchro with the Birdman into Scrap Dragon, taking out the Geargia armor, and a swift OTK setup from Kalti. However, Elegante's Gores is going to stop that in their tracks. Elegante doesn't have a lot to work with, definitely going to have to crash with the Red Med here, and I don't think there's a lot to be done. That back row is just an MST. Scrap Dragon taking out a face down Maxi is just going to end it there. Whoo, Kalti doing what Kalti be doing. What a hell of a... What a hell of an open. This Hieratic deck is just taking names left and right. Okay, game 2, Kalti opening up again, very clearly full combo. That is a full hand of Hieratics, but Elegante opening up with a full back row and no Heavy Storm in sight. Let's see what we got here. Elegante going to drop return into a Machina gear frame. What a top deck for Elegante. I'm just going to set some back row. Let's see what we can do. Bottomlessing the Tefnuit is a pretty heads-up play. Going to have to Solemn Warning the second Tefnuit, though. Sometimes you just have a second Tefnuit. Tributing the Nebthet to go into Sue to try and go for combo, but we've got the Solemn Judgment to negate the Sue. So all Kalti has to work with right now is a 0/0 Watt-Tail Dragon, which is not going to do them a lot of good here. A Gores, however, is definitely going to put in a little bit of work. Machina Fortress being on the field is going to stop Gores from really clearing the field effectively. All they have to do is attack in with one and then the other. A Forbidden Lance is going to protect the fortress and keep the gear frame in rotation, which is really strong. Pot of Duality is going to reveal Darkhold, Monster Reborn, and Gores, and Elegante is going to go for the Monster Reborn. Absolutely a great decision there. Kalti is going to draw into Maxi and is going to have to set the Birdman in hand. Maxi comes down to respond to the Monster Reborn, drawing into a Forbidden Lance. Scrap Recycler is going to put a monster back into the deck. I imagine it is the Machina Cannon. No, it does not look like it was. I did not see what it put into the deck. But attacking in, now we get a little bit of a Hieratic combo. The problem is the Hieratic that Kalti has on the board is a Nebthet, which is level 5 to Watt-Tail Dragon's level 6, which is extremely awkward. 2 Machina Fortress in hand, though, is going to bring back the Machina Fortress in grave, and with a totally clear board, Elegante is going to attack in for game. Wow. Machina Fortress is such a strong card, and Elegante started that off really strong. Being willing to play aggressive with the back row really paid off there. Again, I think that Machina Geargia is like Six Samurai in that it benefits a lot from a simplified game state. Definitely stronger for that than a Hieratic deck is going to be. Yeah, Kalti, if you had just played the Curse of Dragon. if you had just played one more Garnet. Game 3, checking out the hands, Kalti is going to be going first, which is an interesting decision from a Hieratic player. I guess he's going for the extra draw here. A Pot of Duality will certainly help out on that front, but not going to be doing any special summoning this turn. Elegante opened with a fairly strong hand. No way of getting a Fortress into the graveyard after they normal summon that Machina Gearframe, given that they only have a full hand of back row, but it's wholly plausible that they draw into a single monster, and he gets off to the races. Kalti's going to start off drawing for turn into an MST. Not very strong in this opening hand, but is going to help Kalti with getting the OTK off. Just getting a third Hieratic into rotation is pretty smart. Elegante, of course, top decks into the Geargia arsenal, which is going to allow him to get the Fortress into rotation. He's actually just going to go into battle because Kalti activates the Max C and sets the Bottomless and Forbidden Lance here. Not a lot to be done as far as dealing with back row. Tefnuit is going to summon after the Sue gets banished by Bottomless. And once again, Nebthet is stuck with the level 5 and the level 6 with Watt-tailed Dragon sitting dead on the field. Elegante discarding basically an entire hand of Geargia monsters in order to summon Fortress, but now he has a field of Geargia stuff, and just like that, Elegante takes out Kalti, and his just absolutely destructively explosive Hieratic deck gets beaten by a deck that can just put a 2500 guy on the field. And that's really all it takes. A 2500 guy on the board and some back row. Closed it out with just a few weenies and the Fortress, and that's really all it takes. A spectacularly good game. I too love the 2500 guy. Our second bracket is going to be our good friend the Exodia player versus Kaillens. It is Exodia versus the Egyptian gods. Let's check it out. Will the Forbidden One himself be able to beat out Obelisk the Tormentor? An interesting opener for both of them. Leanon just doing, hope for Exodia things here. Going to go for the Wabaku to chain Legacy of Yada. Not going to chain Accumulated Fortune, though, which is really, really going to punish him, because down comes the Mobius, taking out the last two back row. Now LeanonCotcher is behind on draws, which is a situation you cannot be in Hope for Exodia. Kaillens going really aggressive, putting down the Vanity's Fiend and the Mobius. Leanon is going to activate Wabaku and Jar of Greed during Leanon's turn, and Leanon's just going to set a monster pass. Soul Taker is going to take out the Vanity's Fiend. Leanon sitting with a Volcanic Queen, and a head of Exodia. And that is rough, especially because Kaillens hits the lad. You gotta think this is the end of the game. There is nothing Leanon's deck can do in the face of a Light and Darkness Dragon. That card is just so strong. Interesting to tribute over the Mobius with Volcanic Queen rather than the Light and Darkness Dragon. I absolutely would have gone for the lad in this situation, but honestly, there was probably not much that Leanon could have done here. Lad is just, god damn, Lad is a strong card, and it doesn't help that getting hit by the Mobius is just a game-ending play for Kaillens. Really strong showing out of them. Game 2, Leanon is opening with a somewhat stronger hand. Searchability with Pot of Duality, 1 Day of Peace, so they don't have to rely on the face down cards, but they are going to go for the full back row of trap cards. But Kaillens is just going to tribute summon Exodia. Tribute summon Jinzo, which might as well be Exodia under these circumstances. Jinzo is so strong against this deck, and I'm not totally sure Leanon is going to have an answer. Let's hope that Leanon can draw into the Volcanic Queen here. Oh man, Vanity's Fiend also not helping out a lot for Leanon. Going to Upstart Goblin into a Wabaku, and that is just Kaillens' match. That's it. It looked like there were 3 games. Did I screw up and play game 3 last instead of game 2? Okay, here's game 2. So we're going to check out Exodia getting to do Exodia things. My apologies, folks. I mislabeled these. Kaillens opening with not a lot to speak of, a Dupe Frog face down, and going to set another Poison Draw Frog, hoping to build toward the Obelisk, and not trying to burn the Caius, versus Leanon, who is just sitting on a bunch of back row. Just sitting on a bunch of back row, and it is time to chain. We're going to activate Hope for Escape. We're going to activate Hope for Escape. We're going to activate Reckless Greed, and not going to activate the Accumulated Fortune, I guess because we do not want to have to discard during the end phase here. Look at that hand. Holy shit, that is probably the biggest hand of cards I have ever seen in my life. 4 Exodia pieces coming in hot. Wabaku into Legacy of Yada, into Jar of Greed, into Accumulated Fortune, and that is it. Nothing Kaillens could have done about it. Oh, you couldn't do Fortune with Hope for Escape twice in the same chain. That makes sense. So yeah, we got to see Exodia doing Exodia things, but I cannot say I am not relieved to not see Exodia making it to the next round. I am very happy that Exodia did not end up winning this tournament. It was very, very funny to see that it got played and that it won a couple of games, but very glad that it got wrecked. Jinzo as a house of a card too. Kaillens, you really did save the tournament. Leanon, it was funny. I'm glad you were in the tournament. It's nothing against you. I'm just very glad that Exodia didn't win. For the format's sake. It's all for the format's sake. Bracket number 2 or bracket number 3 is going to be GoldenNova versus Clickety. Always excited to see GoldenNova come up on this screen. His deck is just super sick. And I'm very excited to see what it does in round 2. Amusingly, GoldenNova up against another Karakuri matchup in round 2. We have 2 Karakuri matchups for GoldenNova. Opening kind of suspect for Clickety, but we do get to go into the Buredo. GoldenNova is just rocking the Solemns today. A full field of back row, normal summoning the Kagemusha, getting in for maximum damage, and I imagine just keeping the Kagemusha on the field. Maybe to be able to activate Anishi? I don't know if they don't have anything engraved. Maybe just to keep the board presence. A really interesting play from GoldenNova, but again, he knows the deal. He knows you gotta keep up the aggression against Karakuri. If you can keep them from establishing a monster, you can keep them out of the game. Top decks the Elder, summons the Shien. It's Shien, Anishi, and 2 back row. And that is just it for the game. Clickety cannot respond to that. I remember playing against basically this exact deck at Locals in 2012. It was rough. Six Samurai didn't have a huge showing in terms of event tops during this time, but god damn does it look good. Game 2, let's check out the opening hands. Nova activating or starting off with 2 United and a Shien Smoke Signal and a Kizan and an MST. That's going to mean that both of those United are going to be instant pots of greed for GoldenNova. That being said, Clickety is opening with a pretty strong hand of their own. Quick pronoun check. Of his own. This looks like full combo for Clickety. Let's see what you can do. Starting off, we're going to go into a Ninishi, getting us another tuner in the Strategist. We're going to go instant fusion into a Cybersaurus to get ourselves a Buredo, which is going to summon a Merchant from deck and get us a Naturia Beast. Really, really strong against Six Samurai. GoldenNova is just going to have to pass, and that looks like it might just be lethal. Clickety normal summons the Psychic Commander, attacks in and passes. Not a lot that GoldenNova can do here. Going to summon the Kageki, which will get Veilered. Oh, that is rough, and Nova just gets devastated by an opening Karakuri play. That Naturia Beast, such a strong card. Wow, that is one of the fastest games I have ever seen. All right, game 3. GoldenNova is going to get to go first. Not much in the way of Six Samurai in the opening hand, but really just a single bottomless so far has proven good enough. Let's see if his draw can get it to it. Clickety opening with a very, very good set of Karakuris. We've got the Ninishi to get the extra normal summon. We've got a Nisamu to get a level 4 on the field and an instant fusion for an extension with an MST to deal with some back row. Let's see if that's good enough. GoldenNova draws into the Keyzon, is going to activate United into the Keyzon, and is going to set 3 back row, including the Musakani Magatama, which should be good enough to block a destruction, although Karakuri not known for card destruction. Clickety just going off with the combo. The Burrito is going to get bottomless, but it is still going to summon out a dog, the level 4 tuner, to get another Burrito to go into Nisipachi, the strategist, and draw an extra card. Burrito is going to get in for a little damage, as will Nisipachi. And a Cyber Dragon off the top for GoldenNova is going to contact fuse away Clickety's entire board, Monster Reborning the Keyzon, summoning the Zanji, and going for a Heroic Champion Excalibur, which does get Veilered, so Clickety lives another turn, but they're facing down a 3,000 attack point Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. They do get the level 8. Scrap Dragon is going to take out the Fortress Dragon, but it's going to get Veilered. Royal Decree in the background, not going to do a lot to stop that Fortress Dragon. And now GoldenNova is exactly in his comfort zone against Karakuri again. He's got a big monster, 2 cards to his name, and the Karakuri player is down to top decking. Again, this is punishing for a Karakuri player to be in this situation, and GoldenNova knows it, being willing to just normal summon the Kagemusha because he knows that a Karakuri player is not going to be able to accomplish anything against that board, and that is the game. GoldenNova really playing the tempo game so strong in this tournament. So excited to see this happening. And with that, GoldenNova is going to move on to the semifinals. Our final bracket is going to be SpringRoll versus SophieApparently. Let's see how this one goes. All right, opening hands. Sophie, again, not opening with a Darkworld, but as we've seen from Sophie so far, not opening with a Darkworld is not going to stop her from getting a Darkworld. SpringRoll with the Chaos Dragon strat is going to hella brick. A Allure of Darkness in hand may help with that, but an Effect Veiler and a Maxi aren't going to do SpringRoll a huge amount of good in this matchup. Sophie's on the play, going to draw for turn, and there it is, as always, a Darkworld. Upstart Goblin is going to get Sophie another Solemn Warning, with a Solemn Warning, another Solemn Warning, a Deck Dev, a Solemn Judgment, and a Mind Crush. Sophie's going to have a huge back row. SpringRoll top decking the Aaron, but instead of solar recharging it away, decides to normal summon it. Goes into battle phase, does a little bit of damage. Sophie is just drawing copies of Grapha at this point, and SpringRoll leaving Aaron on the field. I'm a little surprised that SpringRoll is not discarding the Raikou for solar recharge to get those draws in. Mind Crush, calling incorrectly, gets a Grapha into the graveyard. Which will then be bounced back for Sophie to get Snow, and suddenly Sophie is off to the races. SpringRoll is going to go for a BLS, but the BLS is going to get stopped by a Solemn Warning, and SpringRoll gets punished with Grapha getting tributed by Deck Dev. SpringRoll no longer has something to discard for that solar recharge in hand. Again, I am not sure why SpringRoll has not activated that card until now. Sophie Solemn Judgments it when SpringRoll goes for the Lila. SpringRoll goes for a Desperation Allure, which draws into an MST and a Light Pulsar Dragon, which both get discarded, and Sophie attacks in for game. Oh, what a punish out of Sophie with that Deck Devastation Virus. Incredible. Sophie manages to win again after basically just drawing 2 Grapha. And that's it. 1 Snow got her off to the races. Sophie destroying fools in her path. Let's see how game 2 goes. Looking at opening hands, Sophie opens with a tour guide and no Dark Worlds, but will inevitably find a Dark World off the top. SpringRoll going first has a Raikou, a Sangan, a Charge of the Light Brigade, a Aaron, and a Trigodia in hand. A really, really strong hand. It's gonna mill a lot. Let's see how SpringRoll decides to work with it. Heavy Storm is going to be really crucial in game 2 against Dark World. Sophie goes for the tour guide into Brow. I am imagining, going to go into Zenmane's, set a Torrential Tribute, and hold the rest of her hand. Heavy Storm is going to take out the Torrential, which is pretty decent here. SpringRoll is going to use the Errand to shuffle back the Zenmanes. Such a good card for dealing with Zenmanes, and is going to mill Eclipse Wyvern during the end phase, banishing Dark Armed Dragon. What a cool opener, and the Royal Decree gets heavied away by Sophie. SpringRoll is going to normal summon the tour guide, which Sophie will Solemn Warning off. It is now Sophie down to 4 cards in hand, but she top decks a Snow Unlight of Darkworld, which she will use with Drag Down into the Grave to take out the Charge of the Light Brigade, which again, SpringRoll did not use during turn 1 and is going to get punished for not using it. Dark Hole is going to take out the Raikou that SpringRoll had face down. And then it's Sophie's just going to use Gates to get a Beige and a Snow on the field and set the skill drain. And that's pretty much all she needs, I imagine. A MST is going to take out the skill drain, however, and Light Pulsar Dragon is a pretty beefy boy. That said, Sophie, of course, top decks the Grapha, which she's going to use with Gates to discard it, take out the Light Pulsar, and then summon a Beige to bounce back the Grapha. Card Destruction will get her the Light Imprisoning Mirror in hand and will get her lethal damage. Wow, Sophie just does not know how to not get Grapha into rotation. God, what a dominating performance from Sophie again. And that's it for round 2. Top 8 went surprisingly quickly despite a lot of 2-1 matches. Some really clear favorites coming into the semifinals. That being said, all of the folks I said were clear favorites are facing up against each other. Let's see how that goes. Round 1, we have Elegante with the Machina Geargia deck that just looked so solid in round 2 versus Kaillens' Exodia, or sorry, not Exodia, God deck, Obelisk deck. Let's see what Kaillens and Elegante get up to. Starting off, let's take a look at opening hands. It looks like Kaillens did not open very strongly. A Swap Frog, another Swap Frog, Dark Hole, MST, Mobius. A lot of back row removal, which is going to be really good against dealing with a deck like Karakuri, but not a lot of gas in the tank. Amusingly, Mobius is an Aqua, just like all the frogs, so it can be summoned under both the Gozen match and Rivalry of Warlords that Elegante has in hand. Let's see how Kaillens does on the play. Going to draw into a Ronin Toad, and I'm a little surprised that Kaillens didn't discard the Ronin for Swap Frog here to get Treeborn into rotation, but fair enough. Elegante gets the gear frame off the top and goes for a Fortress for Fortress play, setting the 3 back row that they have. An MST in hand, or in the back row, isn't going to accomplish much. I'm intrigued at the MST on Gozen match. MST and Gozen match so that they can take out both Rivalry of Warlords and the Bottomless Trap Hole with Mobius. Going to Dark Hole away the entire field of Machinas and just summon back a Ronin Toad in defense to wall up. Not a terrible turn out of Kaillens. Elegante is going to Pot of Duality into a Machina gear frame to get a Machina cannon and bring back that Fortress Engrave, but is going to have to hold off on summoning the Fortress because of Duality. Kaillens is going to top deck into the Sea Lancer and is going to get both the Mobius and the Swap Frog equipped so that it has 2300 attack now. Bringing out the Fortress for Elegante, using that cannon on the next turn, and an Arsenal brings out the Geargia armor. The Fortress takes out one of Sea Lancer's materials. Sea Lancer is going to get Mirror Force, however, it does still have a material equipped, and so it will dodge the Mirror Force. Now is a naked Sea Lancer. Kaillens is going to set the Raikou and see what they can get done. Geargia armor putting a huge amount of work, searching out Double Accelerator and overlaying into Vylon de Sigma, which is a really cool card that can steal opponents' monsters and then use them to turn it into a Catastor for their attribute specifically. Just a spectacular card, but it is going to get taken out by Raikou. A Gozen match is going to prevent Kaillens from flip summoning a Raikou. This is also going to prevent them from going into a Monarch. The Raikou is going to take out the Gozen match after Elegante attacks into it with Fortress. This is just a slugfest of a game. Let's see if we can get that Obelisk that Kaillens has in hand into rotation. The Mobius is going to get warning to protecting the Forbidden Lance that Elegante has in the back row. Elegante really just needs to keep swinging in with Machina Fortress, and it will get him done exactly what he needs. Rivalry again in the back row. Such a punishing floodgate against basically every deck in this format. Elegante or Kaillens just sitting on some weenie monsters cannot get rid of that Machina Fortress right now. My Body is a Shield not going to do the trick. Fortress just attacking in, draws another Gozen match. 3 back row now for Elegante, 2 of which are floodgates. Rodentodon is going to come back from the graveyard. A second Rodentodon back from the graveyard. Going to tribute to try and take Machina Fortress with enemy controller, but the Lance protects the Fortress. Wow. Elegante is just giving no ground in this matchup, and again has another back row to his name. Brings back the Rodentodon just because there's nothing else they can do, and the Machina Cannon off the top will bring back Fortress, and suddenly Elegante has a way to lethal, which it didn't have before. Rivalry of Warlords will do what they need against Sea Lancer being awkwardly a Beast Warrior rather than an Aqua. Sea Lancer is going to get destroyed and Fortress is going to go into some damage. Geargia Arsenal is going to grab us a Geargia armor, and just like that, Elegante has basically closed out the game. I don't think there is a single thing that Kaillens could have top decked here that would have saved them. Wow, Elegante just absolutely in control of that game the entire time. God, I love Machina. Machina is such a cool deck. Time for game 2. Opening hands are looking a lot stronger for Kaillens this time around, opening up with that Treeborn and the Jinzo, hopefully being able to get around the Gozen match. However, it's looking like Elegante already has the back row set up and is on the play. Let's see if Kaillens can get around that. A well-timed MSD may just do the trick here. What can Kaillens get? Oh my god. So, oh no. Battle Fader isn't a machine. I thought it was a fiend, but Gozen match doesn't deal with that. If Kaillens can Battle Fade away an attack, he'll be able to summon that Jinzo, which will really just do the trick on its own. Gearframe is going to get a cannon, which is going to go into the second Fortress. Elegante sitting on double Fortress here. It doesn't look like Kaillens is thinking about the Jinzo play right now. What are we up to here? Walling up, it looks like. It's a lot of wall going on there. Machina is indeed an endless conga line of the exact same asshole over and over again, and that is Machina Fortress, one of the strongest monsters ever made. Battle Fader is a fiend, but importantly, Gozen match only cares about attribute. So Kaillens would be able to tribute the Battle Fader for the Jinzo under these circumstances. Jinzo doesn't do it on its own because it's too small, but a Caius may be able to get rid of one of the fortresses, which is pretty crucial. A Mirror Force is going to stop the Fortress from getting into the Fortress. Here, I really think that the battle... Let's see. Okay. So Kaillens does Battle Fade here. If Kaillens gets into Chaos Sorcerer, okay. The Bottomless is going to take out the Caius, which is still okay because Kaillens does still have a Rodentodon in rotation. Dumps a Fortress with Scrap Recycler. Kachikochi Dragon doing Kachikochi Dragon things, getting in for damage, but getting Battle Faded. A creature swap may do something here. Kaillens is just going to swap, and of course, I again got games 2 and 3 swapped around. I really need to... I need to remember to look at the timestamps on these. Okay, let's check out game game 2, the real game 2. Let's see Kaillens win one here. I will check the timestamps on the next one. Let's take a look. Poison Draw Frog on the open there is an interesting play, to say the least. Elegante opening with some Geargia stuff, but not a lot in the way of Machina. Gets the Arsenal, and that should be all that he needs. Does not tribute off the Arsenal to get Geargia armor. An interesting choice given the circumstances. Kaillens is just going off doing Sea Lancer things and summons the Obelisk. Oh, but the Obelisk gets Dark Hold. Apparently you can destroy an Obelisk with a Dark Hold. Feels bad, man. But we do now have 2 frogs in rotation to get Sea Lancer doing Sea Lancer things. Elegante is going to summon Gear Frame to get a Fortress into hand. We have, ooh, is that a Grand Soil in hand? Kaillens is going to go for the Sea Lancer, which is going to get Forbidden Lanced. It is going to destroy the Poison Draw Frog rather than get destroyed in battle with the Gear Frame, which gets him a draw into Lad, which is a pretty solid card, if you don't mind my saying so myself. Fortress is going to get in over the Sea Lancer. Sea Lancer is going to destroy Duprog instead of itself, and then the Gear Gigant Cross is going to crash with Sea Lancer. Elegante Grand Soiling back Obelisk for funsies main phase 2, and Kaillens goes into the second Obelisk. They say, you think you know Obelisk? I was born in the Obelisk, molded by Obelisk. Elegante is just struggling now because Obelisk cannot be targeted by Fortress, and Kaillens is just going to get in for game here. And that is what Obelisk can accomplish. I am sorry that I didn't get that game 2 before I checked the timestamps. And with that, Elegante is going to go to the finals. Machina Geargia in the finals. Very, very appropriate for this format. One of the absolute titans of Abyss Rising format. Let's see how things go with the matchup I am the most excited for in this tournament. I cannot express to you folks how excited I am to watch Sophie and her Darkworld deck go up against Nova and his 6 Samurai deck. Let's see how it goes. Nova is on the play this time around, opens up Kageki Asceticism, and I think that might do it. Asceticism, I believe, will be able to get out the Kagemusha, but I'm not totally sure. Sophie opening with a rare large number of Darkworlds, sitting on the Dragged Down and Mind Crush plus Double Snow and Brow. You can tell Sophie's going to lose this game because she opened with more than one Darkworld in hand. That is said totally predictively. I don't actually know how this game 1 goes. Let's see how it goes. GoldenNova is going to draw into 6 Samurai United, an incredible top deck with 3 6 Samurai in hand. Kageki is going to summon Zanji, and United is going to draw 2, getting Musakani Magatama and Dimensional Prison. Going to summon out the Grandmaster. GoldenNova decides to go for the Maxi in response to Dragged Down. So Sophie is going to take out the Asceticism, normal summon a Snow to crash into Kageki to make sure a Shien can't ruin her day. Sophie just stuck with a Heavy Storm and 2 level 4 Darkworlds in hand. She top decks into the gates of Darkworld, goes for the Heavy Storm. Musakani hits the Heavy Storm. Solemn Judgment hits the Musakani, and Solemn Judgment negates the Solemn Judgment. Everything resolving. We do not end up getting the Heavy Storm off. What a counter trap chain, but Sophie is still going to go for some nonsense, getting Grapha into the graveyard off of Gates of Darkworld after a Darkworld dealings, and Sophie cannot not get Grapha. What can I tell you? Zanji is going to go to defense to, defend against the massive damage. Gates of Darkworld is going to send a Beige to try and top deck another Grapha. Grapha is going to get deprisoned after Beige takes out the Zanji, but GoldenNova is not in a great situation. See, if there's any deck that can grind game better than 6 Samurai, it's going to be the Darkworld deck. All that Sophie needs to do is get a Grapha into rotation, and it's just game over. MST is going to hit a random card. Sophie wrongly calls Shien Smoke Signal just to try for it. GoldenNova is going to go for Rhoda into Keyzon just to try and survive the turn. Another Keyzon is brutal. Ugh. It is rough. There's not really much that Nova can do under these circumstances. Sophie just has to keep getting one more Fiend into rotation, and she'll keep going. The Leviair using Tour Guide to get Snow back from the banished pile so that Snow can bounce back for a Grapha is so strong here, and Sophie takes game 1. Wow. That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. This matchup is already a banger. Checking the timestamps before I go into game 2. All right, game 2. Nova again on the play, opening with Smoke Signal and Zanji is going to be pretty strong here. Goes for the Kageki with Smoke Signal. Kageki summons, activates summoning Zanji. Sophie goes for the Maxi just to get a draw. And Nova ends with a Musakani, Asceticism, and Monster Reborn. GoldenNova goes for his own Maxi in response to a Brow. And then the Brow just gets how did that Grapha get onto the field? It was Tour Guide into Brow. Okay, that makes sense. Monster Reborn is going to bring back the Kageki for GoldenNova, and Sophie is going to try and Torrential, to which GoldenNova will Musakani, going for the United to draw 2 into the Excalibur to deal a huge amount of damage. Sophie tries to go for the Skill Drain, but Skill Drain doesn't end up making the difference here because of the Anishi's effect chained to Skill Drain. Now Sophie has a full hand of Darkworlds, but also has the card Destruction. She discards 2 Graphas, taking out 2 cards on the field, except GoldenNova is going to Musakani one of them. Sophie is going to go for the Darkworld Dealings, which is going to get Beige into rotation, which is going to get us a Graph. And normal summons the Beige and has a full back row. However, GoldenNova has the Silver Bullet versus Grapha. 2 cards in hand that banish the Deprison and the Bottomless Trap Hole. Sophie has the Grapha go into the Excalibur and it gets Deprisoned, and now she's going to Monster Reborn the Beige to try and bring back the Grapha, but the Grapha is going to get Bottomless. Sophie goes for a Desperation Darkworld Dealings, which does get Snow, which does get Grapha, but she does not have a way to put it into the graveyard. GoldenNova is going to use the Rhoda in hand to try and go for Keyzon. Keyzon is going to get Solemn Warninged, and Nova is going to attack into the Set Tour Guide with Excalibur. Darkhole is going to do a lot of work for Sophie, clearing away the Excalibur. However, GoldenNova is going to make the heads up play, using Warning to take out the Beige to make sure she neither gets a Grapha into rotation nor gets Field Presence, and Sophie, for the last time, does not top deck. For the first time in this entire tournament, does not top deck a busted ass Darkworld card, gets a Gozen match, and has nothing to contest the single Elder on field. Holy shit. The 400 attack point Elder is what does it. What a matchup. God, this matchup is paying off. I am so glad that these two got to play against each other. All right, game 3. It all comes down to this. Sophie on the play opens with Darkworld Dealing, Solemn Warning, Darkhole, Mind Crush, Brow. That's a pretty good draw. She's going to get 2 draws off the Darkworld Dealings with Brow, and the Mind Crush plus Solemn Warning is going to be a really, really solid way to protect her versus GoldenNova's hand, which includes a Xian Smoke Signal, which is a card that loses to Mind Crush. GoldenNova's only source of 6 Samurai monsters is that Smoke Signal, and with a 6 Samurai United sitting dead in hand, that's not going to look good. His other cards are a Deprison, a Monster Reborn, and a Dimensional Fissure. Dimensional Fissure, notoriously good against Darkworld, however, not very good if you're going second. Let's see what Sophie can do with her first turn. She draws into, of course, what else would she draw into but Grapha? She's going to Darkworld Dealings, discarding Grapha. Grapha isn't going to accomplish much except to get revived by Brow. She sets her 2 back row, the Solemn Warning and the Mind Crush, and ends with 3 cards in hand. She and Smoke Signal goes for a Kagemusha, but of course Sophie is going to Mind Crush that. GoldenNova has no choice but to set the D-Prison Monster Reborn and United. Sophie normal summons the Brow and goes into battle and does not attack with the Grapha. She has no way to deal with D-Prison right now, and she just wants to play cautious, and it is a hell of a heads-up play maintaining that Grapha on the board, because GoldenNova does not have a way of dealing with that field presence. He goes for the Monster Reborn with an Elder on field, and uses the United to get the Pot of Greed effect. GoldenNova goes into the Xian Smoke, or the legendary 6 Samurai Xian, which just gets Solemn Warnings. Nova going to try and run over the Grapha with Zanji is actually really heads up, because with DFI on the field, Sophie is going to have that Grapha banished, which means it cannot come back. So with DeFi on the field and a Kageki on the board, Maxi face down to complement the Maxi in hand that can't be activated. Dark Hole is a huge punish because now GoldenNova has no field presence. Sophie can top deck into this tour guide, which is a spectacular top deck under the circumstances, go into Leviair and bring back the snow and start swinging in. Holy shit, can Sophie ever miss on the top deck? GoldenNova draws into the Anishi and sets it. Not much to be done here, and wants to make sure that he survives, but the Leviair is going to get back Zanji and go for game. Sophie plays through the Dimensional Fissure to win this game. A few unfortunate top decks from GoldenNova, but ultimately Sophie got off to a really strong start at the beginning of the game, and without being able to establish a monster bigger than Grapha, something that 6 Samurai have a lot of trouble with anyway, GoldenNova had a hell of a time trying to climb back in this game. God damn, that was really strong. And with that, the finals are Elegante versus Sophie, and the third place match is going to be GoldenNova versus Kaillens. So let's start off with that third place match. Okay, third place match, GoldenNova Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus Kaillens. Nova is on the play, opens with a Kagemusha Asceticism Maxi double-edged sword technique, a really cute card in 6 Samurai, and Heavy Storm, which is not going to do him much good versus frogs. Kaillens is opening with a frog play with the Poison Draw Frog, a Treeborn Frog, a Salvage, a really cool card in this deck, and a Creature Swap with Lad in the backup. GoldenNova has a chance to set up a really strong board here. Something like an Naturia Beast would accomplish a huge amount. Let's see what he can draw. Draws into the Musakani, which is okay. Asceticism on the Kagemusha is going to get the Elder, and there is the legendary 6 Samurai Xian, going to sit the double-edged sword technique and the Musakani. Monster Reborn from Kaillens gets back the Kagemusha, but Maxi is going to prevent a huge amount more from getting done. Kaillens is just going to overlay into Gachi, and Nova is going to get 2 draws off of that, a Warning and a Bottomless, with the 6 Samurai United in the backup. Kaillens is going to have a little bit of trouble getting around this board. It really just takes one activation from GoldenNova to make Lad smaller than Xian, and Kaillens really is going to need to get over the Xian if they want to win this game. But GoldenNova just really going off the double-edged sword technique, bringing back the 2 and the 3 to get Naturia Beast. 6 Samurai United getting another Pot of Greed off for even more back row. Light and Darkness Dragon comes into play, but GoldenNova isn't even playing around. He's just going to Solemn Warning that, make sure that it doesn't see any play, and he's just going to Naturia Beast away Kaillens' entire hand. Naturia Beast is such a powerful card in this matchup, compulsory putting the Poison Draw Frog back, trying to go for game. GoldenNova attacks in for game. Battle Fader comes down, but Solemn Warning stops the Battle Fader, and that is all she wrote. Holy shit. 6 Samurai is a good deck, folks. 6 Samurai is a good deck. And here we have game 2. Kaillens is on the play, opening with a couple of Ronin Totem, a Raikou, an enemy controller, and a Ryza. This hand can do things, especially if that Raikou mills a Treeborn Frog. GoldenNova opening with 3 back row and a Keyzon and a Heavy Storm. If GoldenNova can draw into something like a Kageki or a Kagemusha, it's going to be a really, really strong hand there. But Kaillens also has a lot that they could do. Let me see what Kaillens draws. It's a dupe frog, which is not bad. Going to set the LeanonCotcherVII and an enemy controller. There it is, the Kagemusha into Keyzon. That's going to get the Naturia Barkion. Not excellent in this matchup, honestly. And this is why. Enemy controller is just going to steal the Barkion and going to get tributed away for Ryza, which GoldenNova will Solemn Warning to make sure that no more damage goes through. Top decks into another back row. It's a bottomless trap hole, and Kaillens just puts down the Raikou. Gets another back row in a second Solemn Warning, and Kaillens just sets another monster. Monster Reborn off the top is pretty good, bringing back the Kagemusha into asceticism, which can get us the legendary 6 Samurai Shien. Very, very strong card in this matchup, but Raikou will deal with that. And this is just Kaillens keeping GoldenNova off the board, using Nova's own strategy against him. This is really what made Nova so strong in the first couple of rounds, and it's really stopping him from getting into the play. Nova's going to have to Solemn Warning a Monster Reborn that was targeting his Shien. Kaillens just goes for a Caius to hit Bottomless, and Bottomless goes off banishing Caius, but you know, all it takes is Kaillens just drawing more monsters, which he continues to do with the Obelisk. Doesn't get to summon it, but just sets a LeanonCotcherVII, but it won't take much to get that Obelisk onto the field. Maxi coming down from GoldenNova in response to the LeanonCotcherVII, but you don't need to special summon when you have an Egyptian god. Kaillens goes One Punch Man with the Obelisk and takes out GoldenNova. Whoo! Frogs and Obelisk looking pretty strong game 2. And that ultimately is the problem with 6 Samurai. If you cannot get multiple Samurai, then you do not get plays. Even with Gateway United in hand, GoldenNova wasn't going to accomplish much there. Game 3, Nova is on the play, has the Shien Smoke Signal, and the Elder, and the Return, and the United, the reinforcements of the army. That's a really strong hand with a Compulsory in the back row to protect him. I'm not sure what Compulsory is still doing in this main deck, considering it can't target an Obelisk and isn't going to do you much good against a Light and Darkness Dragon or a Monarch, but we'll see what GoldenNova manages to do with it. Kaillens opening 3 Frogs, a Ryza, and a Creature Swap, which looks highly suspect, but is actually pretty strong. GoldenNova draws a Keyzon for turn. This hand is nutty. Going to use Smoke Signal to get Kageki and Rhoda to get Kagemusha. The God combo Kageki is going to come down, special summoning the Kagemusha, turning United into Pot of Greed. Going to draw into Asceticism, which brings out Inishi because Kageki had the 1700 attack. Going to Synchro for legendary 6 Samurai Shien and summon the Keyzon. Creature Swap comes down, and GoldenNova just says, sure, take it. And Heavy Storm takes away the double-edged sword technique and the compulse. It looks like Kaillens was just trying to bait out the Shien effect, but that's not going to matter when GoldenNova says, yeah, sure, fine. None of these things were going to hurt you that much anyway. And GoldenNova really just takes over the game from there. Frogs can do nothing in the face of 5-6 Samurai on board, and GoldenNova says, Frogs? What frogs? Obelisk? What obelisk? Never heard of them. And ends the game immediately. The only thing that could have made that hand better for GoldenNova was just a gateway, and gateway probably wouldn't have even made a much bigger board than that could have been. Wow, 6 Samurai can go off so hard if they go first. And that's it. We saw the duality of Samurai there. We saw Samurai not being able to set up a board, and Samurai immediately being able to set up a unbeatable board. That was such a commanding, and the nerves of steel from GoldenNova to never use Shien's effect. Just, yeah, you can Creature Swap, you can take my Keyzon. You're gonna Heavy Storm, I'll just compulse my Keyzon back to my hand. I don't need Shien's effect to win this game. And he was right. He never once activated Shien. That was nuts. Oh, I am so excited. Nova putting in such a performance in this tournament so far. But he is not one of the finalists. He is not going to be the winner. The winner is going to be Elegante on Machina Geargia or SophieApparently on Darkworld. And this is it, the grand finals of the Abyss Rising format, January 2022 Time Wizards of Tomorrow tournament. We have two titans of this tournament. We have Elegante, our resident Geargia player, and Sophie on the Dark Horse Darkworld, who has been on a tear through this format. Sophie is on the play, starting off with 2 cards that discard Darkworlds in Drag Down and Darkworld Dealings, and 2 Darkworlds to discard in Brow and Beige, with a Torrential Tribute for the back row. That's true. Sophie says this is the battle of the recursive structure deck bosses. That's exactly what this is. Speaking of which, Elegante with the double gear frame in hand, able to get that fortress and a a Geargia armor as well in hand. A lot of really solid starters and a mirror force to block a big push. Grand Soil is not going to do a lot in the early game here. So if Sophie can exploit the fact that she's on turn 1 and Elegante has that kind of brick here, then she can get a pretty good start in this game. Let's see what she draws. Oh, the Foolish Burial is nutty here. Going for the drag down into the grave, discarding the Mirror Force, bringing back the Beige, using Darkworld Dealings to draw, discard Brow, and going for Upstart Goblin. She has the Grapha in hand and a Grapha in grave because of Foolish Burial. She brings back the Beige to get Grapha onto the field. I'm a little confused by not using Foolish Burial before going for the draw cards, but you know what? We cannot question the unmatched battle prowess of Sophie and her Dark Worlds right now. Such a strong hand. Goes for card destruction, has the Grapha and Beige, gets a +2 off of this one, or a +1. Beige goes onto the field, brings back Grapha. So much that she's dealing with. 2 Grapha on the field. Elegante is going to have to do a lot of work. Down comes the MST, which is going to take out a back row, and it's the Solemn Judgment. Oh, but the deck devastation virus punishes the Dark Hole. Elegante makes a pretty heads-up play and brings back the Grapha, knowing that nothing in their own graveyard is going to beat a Grapha of Sophie's own. Sophie's just going to go for a Darkworld Dealings to summon Beige, attack in with the Graphas, and then just bounce the Beige back to the hand for Grapha. And now Sophie has suddenly turned the game entirely on its head, with 5 cards to her name and 1 card to Elegante. She top decks the tour guide, but doesn't even bother with it. She just summons the Beige, goes in with Grapha, goes in with Beige. Main 2, summons back Grapha number 2, and there is jack all that Elegante can accomplish against a board this huge. Holy shit. Dark Worlds, strong deck game 1, folks. Dark Worlds, they have a strong game 1. What can I say? Game 2, it looks like Elegante is on the play, draws a pretty decent opening hand, 2 Solemns in hand, 1 Pot of Duality, and a couple of Geargia. Unfortunately, Geargia Arsenal and Pot of Duality do not mix very well. Geargia Arsenal wants to get Geargia Armor into rotation, but cannot do so and use Pot of Duality in the same turn, which is a little bit rough. Sophie opening with a Starlight Road, a Mind Crush, a Solemn Warning, and 2 Dark Worlds, including Grapha in hand. Let's see what Elegante decides to choose between the Duality and the Geargia Arsenal. Elegante decides to go for the Duality, goes for a little bit of a gamble here, does get the D Prison as a reward. Sophie draws into the drag down, goes for drag down after setting her whole hand, discards Snow and the Geargia Arsenal in Elegante's hand, and uses Snow to get Gates. Gates gets Solemn Judgmented, which is a pretty heads-up play from Elegante, knowing that a Grapha would really ruin his day at this point. Goes for the Geargia Cross, which also gets Solemn Warninged. And now we're just kind of in a lull state of folks drawing and passing. An amazing play out of Elegante, discarding the Machina Cannon for Machina Cannon to put Grand Soil at 5 Earths in Grave to bring back the Geargia Arsenal with Grand Soil, which can grab a Geargia armor. What a sick play out of Elegante. Sophie top decks the Brow and it takes out the entire board. She sets the Brow and goes for Mind Crush, intentionally calling an incorrect card to discard Grapha and destroy the final Solemn Warning. Flip summons the Brow, Heavy Storms, summons the Grapha from graveyard, and normal summons the Brow to end the game, and incorrectly called Mind Crush, intentionally incorrectly calling the Mind Crush to discard Grapha. What a phenomenal final play. What a great last game for this tournament. And Sophie apparently takes it with little trouble in her way, including little trouble from her own deck. Holy shit. Congratulations to SophieApparently, our first Arch Chronomancer, our first winner of the Time Wizards of Tomorrow. She will hold the belt and the title until next month. And she has earned herself a one-of-a-kind art piece featuring Grapha and some Time Wizard magic. And I'm so excited for Sophie's prize. I really hope she lets me show it off to y'all when I'm done. Sophie says, I would like to credit my pal Grapha for teleporting to the top of my deck every game. Really, really true. Sophie, you had some of the most incredible top decks I have ever seen in a tournament, but you made also some of the coolest heads-up plays I've ever seen in a tournament. So really, really congratulations to you. That last play, yeah, exactly. Jesse puts it exactly correctly. You played strong. You played a strong deck. You drew strong hands, and you played well, and that did it. Thank you all to everyone who participated in this tournament. It was a banger of an event, and I am so looking forward to the next one. It sounds like the next event is going to be pre-hat. This is 3 Soul Charge format. It's got so many cool things, and it also has Boojin. I really appreciate you all being here. This tournament was a hell of a starter. Congratulations to SophieApparently and her Darkworld deck, and I really look forward to seeing you all at the next one.